Marksman Zaya taken off the table.
Yeah, how many 80 carry bans are we going to see here? By the way, somewhat supportive crowd.
Yep, that's going to be the case. And I mean, Callista's a necessary ban as well for red side primarily. RNG will have to remove that one with it. Past that point, now you start to have the guessing game of, well, we've committed to 380 carries. Do we have to get rid of one that's left, such as a Tristana? Do we want to pick Twitch for Uzi and take the matchup that's not going to be ideal?
Yeah, and how threatening is the Rakan when there is no Zaya that can be paired with it is another question. Lulu being banned leads Janna up as well. There are a lot of engage versus counter engage. What it feels like when we've seen it, at least from the best teams, Rakan still is that near must ban because of the instant team fight initiation you can have at any stage of the game, but they have to make that call, and both Janna and Rakan are up.
And this is the thing, I think when Janna and Lulu are banned, Rakan is even better as far as priority goes. So Gragas does leave the door open. We're starting to see teams pinch one of those two big Ardent Sensor supports, but Samsung Galaxy have a very key choice to make here early on in the draft.
And that is the question, do they want the Rakan or the Janna? Because typically Janna's pretty good into Rakan, so you may be able to pick that one blind and earlier. Yes, the risk is there of the really hard engage, and as you mentioned, Jet, the best teams can make that work almost to no counter from their opponents, but you've always got that lingering feeling of Janna can put in some serious work.
There's a chance you can stop the Rakan. The dash speed is insanely fast, but if you pre-channel a tornado or you click your Monsoon at the right time, you can stuff it. It's nearly impossible. But now RNG kind of has their choice. They gave over what was probably a 90% first pick, so they knew they're going to get something back. And also, they can deprioritize the Janna a bit if they want, since the support's already locked in on the other side.
Yep, they do take Jarvan, which is kind of expected. One of the best junglers that's often left up in the tournaments, and a lot of the top teams take it.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of adaptations even just in day 3 of the group stage from what the biggest meta champions were. For instance, Sejuani is a pick that is starting to be deprioritized a little bit. It was nearly perma-banned to first pickable, and now we're seeing it drop to what is now the 4th section of the draft if you count how many times teams have had a chance to pick.
Yeah, usually now you'll be looking at a Gragas perhaps as a bigger priority. Tristana, the pick, you heard the crowd go off when Uzi locks in that champion. Funnily enough, he does have games where he dies to Ocean Drake as Tristana, but otherwise he looks incredible on the pick.
I like the response though from Samsung, taking Twitch to pair with that Sejuani. Again, just kind of keeping up as far as strong hyper carries go. And again, this man, again, we heard the analyst say it should favor Samsung going late. They might as well pick some insurance, but RNG do the same, take the Janna here.
And the Jarvan pick stands out to me in particular, knowing that it may go into the jungle role. Gragas being the ban, it makes the most sense with that. We still didn't see something like a Galio locked in for RNG to round out a composition for them, however, as they have to prioritize that Janna now. The second ban phase is about to come around for them, but because they get the first pick in the next pick phase, there's an opportunity to try and exploit Samsung a little bit here and get a better matchup.
Yeah, I think the Galio is almost certainly going to be a ban here for Samsung Galaxy down in phase 2 on the bottom left of the screen because of that combo, and especially because it's against Twitch. If they ever get the flash down of Twitch and you have a Jarvan Galio, it's lights out for that guy. And I'm also really curious what happens with the late game choices that everyone has been making, because we have so many games that are going to 40 minutes, 45 minutes. There's a bit of an arms race to make sure you have the better scaling. I think in a small way, G2 versus Fenerbahce in that last game was a slight misstep by Fenerbahce for not having enough early game to get to the late game. But against teams that are better than that executing in lane, I think we have the arms race in full swing out here. That's why we see the Twitch, I think, prioritized so early.
Yeah, and Trundle actually banned by RNG, and Kassadin is the first phase 2 ban for Samsung. Yeah,
it looks like it'll be a Cho'Gath or a Maokai towards the top side to me, indicating once again that Jarvan may be a pick, and you can see the reaction from Samsung.
Yeah, Galio's up, which is fascinating to me, since it should, you'd think, be locked in right here so they can pair it with the Jarvan, unless they don't want to pick it blind because both solo laners of Samsung are still left up. I expect it to happen.
I'm not sure that he will, just because Lucian is available and he's had some pretty bad run-ins in the LPL knowing that Lucian is everywhere. But once again, they are so good at the champion. Xie is another example of mid laners who don't care about mismatches in any way.
Well, they will take the Galio here. I mean, they have to give up Maokai, I guess, is maybe the pick they were debating over. And I'm kind of expecting Samsung to look at that tank to complement the rest of their lineup. There's also a very small percentage chance RNG could flex it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's almost always a mid laner at this point, but RNG with the last pick here in the draft will have some flexibility, but Samsung, they do what we're expected. Rise Maokai, easy as you like.
Yeah, this is rather interesting to me because they could technically just go Rumble and pull off the super combo of Jarvan, Galio, Rumble when you have two carry positions that do not have inbuilt escapes from the cataclysmic entrance that Galio and Jarvan can put on. Like, theoretically, that makes a lot of sense, but it does put RNG on a timer if they do that, and they're going to opt against it and just put a Galio top lane.
Yeah, they're going to choose to flex it, so maybe not an expectation. We did see a fair few flexes in the play-ins, of course, of Worlds, where Galio was almost more a top laner than he was mid laner. The combo is not the same with the Rumble. That is fantastic, but it's a high cooldown combo as well, and Syndra provides a better laning phase against the Rise, which I think is the bigger goal, and they mentioned this on the analyst desk. You need to have a pretty good 2v2 against Samsung if you want any chance in this game.
Yeah, I also feel like RNG didn't want to go that tunneled on the one combo, as you mentioned, but when looking at the compositions now, I can't help but think that Samsung probably ended up getting the better of it because their late game is so insane now, and it's going to be about whether or not RNG can beat them before they get to that point.
Well, it's certainly fun to see. I mean, Samsung taking a comp that is, I think, very indicative of their style and how they like to play RNG. I think wanting a few more higher tempo early game champions, again, because you want to go late, but you need to kind of bridge the gap to get there. Maybe they're thinking, okay, if we play a bit more aggressive in the early game and get a lead, we can run away with the game before it gets to Samsung time.
That's the LPL versus LCK type of dynamic we've always seen when they try and match up. EDG tried it, get some early pressure at the very least to help bridge that to a later stage, but the LCK teams always tend to outscale just by that little bit extra, and then execution becomes easier for them as the game progresses.
Here we are in the Summoner's Rift for Samsung Galaxy versus RNG. The crowd here in Wuhan is certainly behind their Chinese home team, but no small opponents here in Samsung. And I think as far as early games in the stage of the tournament go for these two teams, winning here is so integral to topping this group.
Yeah, so incredibly important. And I cast the first RNG game against 1907 Fenerbahce, and I was hyping up MLXG's early game. He's got a higher first blood percentage by 10 or more percent than anyone else coming into the World Championship, and they got invaded and he died. So I'm still looking forward to what MLXG can do early because he prioritizes getting first blood more highly than any other jungler, and it's actually a completely flipped matchup with Ambition, who spends more time on his side of the map than almost any other jungler we have in the tournament as well. He's a farm to 6 jungler, or as close as you can get to it. It's not that he will never gank, he is just less likely to gank and make sure it's efficient.
Exactly right. A lot of this is offense versus defense, effectively, between the teams. That's RNG versus Samsung, and that's captured very nicely through the junglers specifically. MLXG likes to try and get into the jungle after ganking a couple of lanes first. He will often be behind in experience as a result of that if the ganks don't work, but he likes to get his laners ahead.
Well, just as a reminder, the stakes are high for our competitors at Worlds, with 25% of the proceeds from Championship Ash and Ward skins being added to the prize pool, while another 25% will be donated to charity. So if you haven't, get your skins in now. It is gorgeous, but we're going to start with some early jungling here. Ambition on that blue. Looks like MLXG started on the same side with his red buff, so trending down towards that bottom lane.
Yeah, you actually often see the Sejuani start at the red buff with a leash from the Twitch and the Tom, but that didn't happen this game as they tried to do a delayed invade onto the blue buff. I think that is more because they want to make sure they can scout MLXG. When they invade the blue buff, they make you know he started red, and they already have that ward in the red side river, so they're doing their best to try and keep track of him, but never know where he's going to go next.
And we've had a conversation about how awkward it is to try and gank bottom lane, but MLXG, he's got Uzi on his team, right? It's pretty easy to gank that lane. Big radar, but good ward.
The timing on that ward was perfect. It went invisible as MLXG walked over it, and Ambition has already laid the trap. He watches him walk right past. He's going to wait for him to start it.
MLXG knows something's up, though. He's trying to find him. He wants to kill the Sejuani, not do the red buff. Something's fishy, and
now,
here we go.
He's going to find out now, but Ambition gets the jump first. MLXG he's going to start doing battle. Gets stunned by the permafrost as Courage of the Colossus does proc, and Jungler's just going to walk away.
it's so peculiar, right? Because Ambition was waiting for the backup since he didn't have red buff. He's going to lose the duel. I think it's going to end with him just pushing him outside of the jungle because they don't want to forfeit too much lane pressure in order to make this collapse when he's got his EQ up anyway.
But I really like the diligence here is seen by Jarvan. I mean, the fact that he knows that Ambition's nearby, doesn't know exactly where, checks every possible nook and cranny to find him. What you need.
And I actually really like what MLXG did in a response. So he didn't have any knowledge. He just had instinct because he didn't know he got spotted by the ward. But when he goes to red buff and there's no one there, he doesn't just start the red buff like a lot of other junglers would. He knows something's up, as you said, Rusty, and kept searching until he found the Sejuani because he knew a trap was somewhere. He just wanted to spring it without dying.
Wonderful preparation by both these junglers as MLXG going to be spotted by another nice ward getting placed. Ambition is on the Krugs, but should be able to finish them. A ward is going to spot that happening, but can't really slow him down at the moment. And MLXG again, so much surveillance here on the bot side for Samsung.
We mentioned offense versus defense. Well, that's exactly what we're seeing from the junglers specifically as well. RNG, of course, they have a Tristana with a bit of extra push. That is what gives the second red buff to MLXG ultimately in the end, just by being able to rotate over. The extra wards at the Krugs will spot them as well. But so far, it's just a bit of invading being pesky, really. It's just keeping tabs on where is the boar at all times.
Yeah, which is interesting because you know generally where Ambition's going to be for the first few minutes. As of now, the gold is even. When he takes Raptors, it's going to change a little bit, but the effect of this is basically just letting the Syndra and the Tristana try and push because they're at least keeping tabs on the search.
And they certainly are. You can see another ward from Xiaohu. This is all a vision battle, trying to pay dividends for the junglers, just to give free time to their laners in some way. Pressuring Ambition means laners are free. It's a Syndra into a Ryze. It's a Tristana into a Twitch. They want to be unlocked in their lanes in the 2v2 and the 1v1 respectively.
Given that lane ward placed by Crown was so excellent playing MLXG, checking his Raptors. But it looks like some of the jungle invasions are going to slow down, so we'll check back in with our solo laners here. Let me and Kuve doing battle, but from a tank pledge up here shouldn't be too many problems. Kuve did teleport back to lane already, but let me should answer back soon as Core JJ tries to dive in, but just short. There on the W, Ruler gonna ambush up. Couple of pokes there into Uzi.
Yeah, I do find it a little bit interesting that Uzi has gone for the Doran Shield. It is the best all-in protection, so to speak, against a Rakan, but it also means they're not going to be the first support duo to Ardent Sensor, and it's not a bully item either, so...
Ooh, almost knocked him out of zone range. It looked like Kuve with a great play! Dodges the flag and drag, forced to flash still, but really nice sidestep.
Yeah, very clean from Kuve just to get out there. It was a little bit lagging behind from MLXG with the combo. There was no chance that he was still going to be taunted, but not choosing to flash, choosing to dodge it, and then flash for distance when the Twisted Advance locks someone down shows, once again, a master Maokai in action.
Yeah, I think if he flashes the EQ, there's a very real chance MLXG still would have had the reaction time to flash follow and get the knock up anyway, which would have been a dead Maokai. So I think that was the only way he reliably lives is by timing that perfect. Great job.
Yeah, Kuve's had a pretty spectacular summer season in the LCK. So a nice little move to get him out to safety, but let me still head in the matchup. Has also TP'd back to lane himself. Has a slight experience lead right now as Kuve was forced briefly out of the lane, but MLXG continues his adventures. Now going to take down this Scuttle Crab, and again, with all the vision finally dropping, maybe he's going to look for yet another gank as Crown will walk past here.
There was no Q there for MLXG, so it was a bit awkward. Still cutting him off, it looks like.
Ooh, Crown actually getting ulted. Great flash from the Ryze. Does not get stunned.
Yeah, the stun could have been the kill, theoretically, if MLXG could have then chained it, but that's why Crown flashed right away. He wanted to make sure he wasn't getting stunned because he knew he was cut off.
A battle of better safe than sorry, ultimately, for the mid laner of Samsung. Ambition finally being able to spread his wings a little bit, thankfully, because MLXG has spent more time ganking as well as getting vision, not just finding Ambition whilst placing that vision.
And this is a dangerous part of the game for Samsung. It's what they're banking on being able to get past, but you look at all of these lanes, they're kind of dealing with 3 pushing lanes and a relentlessly aggressive jungler, so there has been a lot of pressure applied to Samsung, and they are getting summoner spells down. So you would think the next gank would be the lethal ones. It's about Samsung to wait it out, get those cooldown timers back on Flash, and make it so they can get to the team fights before this barrage of aggression from RNG subsides.
And speaking of the aggression, I'm expecting it to once again come back to that middle lane. Firstly, Kuve and Let Me will not have teleports, but Galio exists, right? We'll be able to influence that in some way by having the ultimate, and then MLXG ganking as a Jarvan once he ticks 6 with the Syndra knowing there's no flash on Crown. That's the very obvious place that you would want to go if you are RNG.
Well, back in the bot side, nice double knock up there from CoreJJ, but just a couple trades here as Uzi actually pulling pretty far ahead in CS right now. Xiaohu on the other side is going to take his blue buff away. And looks like Crown's also back recently, has Merc and a TSO again, sort of emphasizing the early defensive itemization from Samsung, just knowing that they're going to have to weather the storm, get through the persistence and the pressure of MLXG, although face check from CoreJJ could be bad news. Does Battle Dance away, but Uzi wants in, he's got Buster Shot ready, but he doesn't have the mana, he's going to keep going for it. Can't go too far.
Nearly getting another jump. He didn't quite get the max stack E to proc that, and they were thinking about going bottom lane as MLXG.
They're also looking at a red buff, I think.
Yeah, this is going to be tricky, though. It is very hard to burst down a Sejuani. It would need to be some type of extended gauge, and their bottom lane is on a recall timing, so way too aggressive.
Crown also continuing to play very safely here, especially when Xiaohu dips out of vision. So respecting the pressure that both Syndra and Jarvan, particularly from a player like MLXG, can offer. But Ambition, again, due to all of MLXG's consistent ganking, has got himself a little bit behind in XP. So Ambition ready with his ultimate for a gank or counter gank. MLXG, though, going to catch up here as he takes his camp. Now has his ultimate to work with as well.
Surprisingly patient and slow overall. You'd expect, yes, RNG have been aggressive and trying to push forwards, but you're still expecting something extra from them almost out of necessity. You're looking at 500 gold separating them at 9 minutes, and that's good. It's nice to have. The one big benefit is currently on your screen because it's a BF sword to a Zeal, and they're swapping lanes right now, which means they want to start making some plays and doing that pressure that I was just mentioning towards top.
Yeah, but with the BF sword to a Zeal, they're not even matching the lane. They're just trying to use the BF sword to take turrets. They might be diving this Maokai.
He's got no flash. This could be a kill here. Good little Zeal. Oh, great! Again, the Twisted Events dodges out some of the damage, but again, they're going to keep diving away. Too much taking MLXG. Does get healed, and Monsoon protected stuff, and now Kube has his flash back up. Let me going to take the next one, but it's not enough. Uzi finally grabs first blood.
That Courage of the Colossus shield was so big because there were 4 people in the lane, so they're like, whoa, we're killing a Maokai and a half up against this turret, but because he didn't have his flash, because they were actually patient enough to realize that they had the heals and the shields and the John ultimate to take turret, they make it work, but that was a little more difficult than they expected.
Super awkward, to say the least, but you know what? The kill went to Uzi of all people for RNG. They'll take it in the end. They got the turret first as well, so ultimately it's still a big win. It just took a little bit longer than they would have otherwise wanted.
Rule, though, is going to clean up this bot side turret. 2-man push from Samsung more than enough. But
they're not going to let him get this Herald.
On for this Herald, Ambition with the ultimate already does use it, stuns up one. Ming actually getting locked up for a little while, but Kube TPing in not too effective as MLXG's trying to finish the Herald. It's pretty low, and he does have Smite, but I don't know if he really wants to keep going. They do get it. Who's going to grab it? Let me just going to take it and try and get out, I think.
He may have to flash if they push in on him, but it looks like it's worked. He's just going to recall in the pit with nothing.
Yeah, surely you'd think Samsung could have just swapped that for the Ocean Drake because of the investment, but they decided to spend a teleport up there anyway. We're going to watch this dive one more time.
And this dive, you mentioned it before, it's awkward. Cube Twisted Advance, and the Cube in particular giving him that extra shield is massive. He's going to survive once again for so long with the ultimate as well, locking them all down. Now you watch the juggle, trading aggro. Uzi didn't want it, but he got it. MLXG didn't want it, and now Let Me has to try and just waddle his way out as well.
Exactly. RNG's going with a Warrior, Jarvan, and a Trist, and those are the 2 people that get the turret instead of the Galio, who would have been able to tank it for days. But what's funny about that is the play itself was still really good, and it gave them about a 400 gold advantage off of the kill and the first turret when you equalize for the farm that was given off to Twitch.
Yeah, sitting close to 1,000 gold, almost up for RNG, but not there just yet as Uzi returns to his bot lane home to try and get the waves pushing back in the right direction. Zerka Greaves and a pickaxe plus a dagger now joining that early BF sword. It looks like Runan's Hurricane first here for this Twitch, and Hades again just still farming up. So RNG have some pressure points to play with, but going to need to continue to force these plays, maybe use that Rift turret or even force a fight around this Ocean Drake.
You know, all things considered, being near the first turret when it goes down seems to help a little bit. Getting an assist for Ming. He has the Ardent Sensor before his opponent in CoreJJ, which is quite surprising given as a target to give him extra gold.
Yeah, and also Ming has gone with gold generation in his runes, whereas CoreJJ has not. So even when you're accounting for all the gold Ruler gave him, it was made up for in the rune page.
Yeah.
Well, Ocean Drake over. RNG take another objective off the map. And again, that gold lead now sitting just above 1,000. As Xiaohu and Let Me Bit of a tag team situation in the mid lane. Again, just trying to apply a bit more pressure. MLXG down that bot side, but I have to remind myself that Let Me is the one with the Herald, so MLXG is not going to be around to use that, but doesn't need to on this turret. RNG with enough space to knock this one down, and all of a sudden took the first turret, going to make it 2 in very short order.
Yeah, and RNG is playing this early game the way they should and the way they have to. The Rise Twitch Rakan late game threat with the Maokai is so huge that RNG needs to be trying to make these moves and push the tempo as much as possible. They're going for another turret with this Rift Herald.
This is a high tempo play. Rito crashes in. That's enough for the tier 2 and the crowd goes absolutely wild.
Wow, 2 big turrets just taken down straight after each other. RNG starting to grow not a massive gold lead, but sizable map control and advantage, and in particular with just tempo now. If they want to push mid lane, it's the next place they have to go. One of the hardest turrets still left to crack, unfortunately, for them, as the Herald was used bottom for that second turret.
Still going to be worth a large amount of gold for them, so that's good as far as that Empower Spikes are concerned. But with Sensor Hurricane being on Twitch, that's a lot. Crown's going to be getting his Abyssal Mask very soon, which makes him very difficult to burst out for Xiaohu. So manufacturing that next play is going to be where the game really starts in a lot of those ways, because the bottom lane being won by the Tristana, somewhat expected based on the jungle pressure from MLXG, like the dives they've been doing, has to do a little bit with their early game advantage, but now they need to be able to snowball that advantage, and that comes by breaking the mid turret and taking control of the rest of the map.
And I think that's very true of the metagame we've seen develop here at Worlds. I mean, the games have been slower. They are playing to scale more, to build up to that late game, to have these strong front lines and defensive supports, really build an almost unbeatable 5v5 team comp by that point. So yes, you can get some leads in the early game, but unless you go all out and really force to snowball the early game, you have to play the mid game very well.
Exactly. It's no secret that the LCK is undefeated at the World Championship so far. 5 wins, 0 losses. In 2 of those games already, and 3 including this one, which will make half of their games, they've had a gold deficit at 15 minutes because they have been opting into that late game's arms race and making sure they don't fall far enough behind. SKT, you could argue that they fell too far behind, but they still just had to win 1 fight. That's all it took, was 1 fight to be able to come back in it. So even if this looks good for RNG right now, they have to play so well to actually get that victory.
We saw Bang play Twitch. We know that Ruler is a very good AD carry. Deficio thinks better than Uzi. We're going to see if that is actually true, as he's got the Twitch and can put on a carry performance here with the team protecting him and setting him up with the Ardent Sensor that everybody does love to pick up and talk about.
Well, again, Uzi certainly could be outmatched by Ruler in the late game, but his reputation as a laner continues here. Plus 30 CS at 15 in this game and continuing to build up. Has the Infinity Edge already completed, but Ruler again with the Hurricane should accelerate that farm.
I'm really curious to see in the big team fights when RNG pull off the Jarvan Galio Cataclysmic Entrance combo, whether or not Crown just uses Zhonya's and his Rise ultimate to get him and Twitch to safety. Because if he can pull that off pretty reliably, it may shut down the engage of RNG. So that could be a really cool combo that we're yet to see.
I hope to see that. It's going to be very difficult to pull off, I would have to imagine, but that would be sick. Just actually.
Here's a gank. There's one.
Zhonya's yet. He's fine.
Yep, just gets out instead. Has more than enough with rank 2 ultimate. Crown's going to cross, probably put his hands together and get his level 11.
Yeah, Crown very good at using the minimum to survive generally. So once again, just the Rise ultimate, no summoners needed. Hides in the bush until it's about to go and hops on the journey to safety.
Well, he's out, but good bit of pressure there from MLXG and Uzi grouping together, and Uzi is going to sit bot side right now. Pretty easy lane for him to continue to farm out, and very long one for Samsung to push back, given again that RNG did take that tier 2 turret. You wonder if it is going to cost them though, because mid turrets are very important for opening up the map towards the mid game, and that Rift Herald may have been good at the time to get you an immediate objective, but maybe wishing they still had it.
Right, or being able to crack mid with it. Even so, it's a 1,000 gold advantage on Uzi and a 2,000 gold advantage for the game, so a good distribution of the gold. Not to mention the Janna that can power them up, and it really does feel like Samsung is in full defense mode. And the fact they've only given up 1 kill and had the game be 2,000 is okay for them right now. This is still an absolutely brutal game. That's a worry though.
Never mind, flush out, that's a kill for Xiaohu!
The curse. just as we start to call the
Full
defensive.
defense mode.
Yeah, we see the full offense come out from some members of RNG. Xiao, who finds himself a nice kill, just once again being Syndra, being level 11 himself, able to blow them up.
And now it's about how fast RNG converts. Immediately to mid lane, you kill the support that is the primary engage so they can fearlessly siege this turret.
Yep, let me also roaming down as well. We'll be in ult range with rank 2 ultimate available, but there is also a Cloud Drake in 30 seconds for RNG to consider, and Samsung can answer if RNG make a misstep.
They have to bring Juve towards the middle lane to defend this also. Ryze doesn't have teleport, he's running heal, so Crown's in the bottom lane, he's going to stay there, and whilst he doesn't have a structure to get himself, what he's doing, which is great, is setting up a side lane that RNG have to answer that, yes, it's close to the Drake, but someone still has to get there, and we know it's going to be Uzi, so they won't do the Drake immediately on spawn, gives time for respawns and vision.
Yeah, this is potentially a mistake, I think, from Let Me to push in that top wave one extra go, since you're going to be able to match with teleport anyways. It pulled the pressure away from mid lane, and it also gives Samsung the inside track to Drake because they couldn't have anyone rotate over to that wave that Crown just pushed, but we'll see how they play it out.
Let me here now, and again, looks like RNG are going to just converge onto the Drake and look to take yet another objective. They're looking to add a cloud to their ocean, so not the most aggressive of Drakes, but they'll certainly take them and continue to stack them up.
For a second, I thought they were walking over to a Baron, and then I checked it was 19 minutes. There's no trade there. Just another small but free objective. A Cloud Drake is very nice to have, especially with Janus running around very quickly. Syndra being able to stay in range as a mid-range control mage as well.
You're going to be happy for a boost of movement speed. Also, a Samsung poking Crown into the top lane, actually. Again, just I think anywhere is a good lane for him right now as far as farm goes. And Samsung, like we mentioned, are just trying to defend. But watch this one again. Xiao, who nails Core JJ.
And it's 100-0 from Fawn for Core JJ. Hard to deal with.
Yeah, Rakan, one of those few awkward champions, as Crown might be gone.
Knockout, MFG going to slow him down. Crown going to try and roam up back. Cataclysm, he's going to keep him out. Goodbye.
Wow.
All of the CC that would interrupt the Realm Warp was used at the start of the gank, so Crown doesn't even have to flash. He healed to buy enough time for the Realm Warp to go away. That's why the Cataclysm didn't kill them. And as we talk about, uses just enough to escape without overexpending his summoners.
Yeah, that's the second time, so the ultimate comes in super clutch for Crown, and if he starts going towards Azonias as perhaps the third item, well, that becomes even harder for RNG to secure themselves the slippery rise of Crown. This can't continue to happen for RNG. Looking forwards, they need to start growing that gold lead into something more.
And again, they've done a good job poking around, trying to create space in the 3 different lanes on the map, but Samsung still farming up. I mean, Uzi has a lead in his lane. Xiao also has a decent lead of 20 in his, but again, with Cuvée ahead and the rest of the team just kind of chilling out with these game times.
Yeah.
Samsung going to be happy.
Yeah, and we talk about how RNG has put themselves in position where their composition is a little bit better early, but they're not the team that actually wins fast at all. Not even in the LPL. When compared to the world, they are very slow, which puts them in a difficult stylistic matchup against Samsung, who is so good in these types of games as well over in the LCK.
Yeah, good at winning early, okay at mid-game, and still want that late-game team fight, RNG. And
Right.
very good at it, granted, they are against Samsung, as you mentioned, and that's why this is so difficult for them. But they've done the first step, they got the early part, now they need to not lose to the mid-game part of Samsung. If they become that turtle shell, can they crack it?
Well, we'll keep track of the carries items. Uzi with 2 and Ruler building up towards his Infinity Edge. Uzi finished a static shiv to join his first IE. And again, RNG kind of happy to play the pace of the game out.
Granted that having a static shift with your Infinity Edge speaks for itself is strong, but the Void Staff in middle lane, being able to kill tanks potentially, namely Crown on the rise, does stand out to me as a decent second item for Xiao, who, yes, it's not a lot of ability power, but he can still do a lot of relevant damage if they get skirmishes or team fights.
Yeah, and Uzi is roughly, or rather Ruler is roughly 600 gold away from completing his Infinity Edge. And when Twitch has Infinity Edge, Hurricane is really when Twitch comes fully online. So that mid turret we talked about, still incredibly healthy, but with Infinity Edge, Static Shift, Seal, this is the time for RNG to crack before Ruler gets super lethal with Spray and Pray. That's why they're here.
They've just decided that ganking Crown is no fun at all, so they're going to look mid lane potentially for a dive, but wave clear very nice. Samsung again holding on.
Yeah, the 1-3-1 by Samsung is a very good stall tactic right now. It's even catching them up in the game because they took that extra turret. and they're actually getting more farm as RNG spending all this time
Wow!
down.
Uzi just went in on the Kube there, but now they're going to maybe catch him out. The Tornado was good for the knockup. Kube going to get knocked back again, and he's down. Uzi grabs his second kill of the game.
The 1-3-1 was great, except for when Cuvée goes to clear a control ward when RNG were just around the corner. MLXG was flanking mid lane and just walks over as Crown and Xiaohu.
This might be good for Xiaohu, but we'll see. Crown is going to keep dodging out of the way.
You have to save your CC for the Realm Warp. I think Xiaohu's learned this from the last time. He's doing it in Fog.
Going blind, no, can't do it. Little late, and Crown once again slips away in the Realm Warp.
Yeah, that has got to be infuriating for RNG, where Crown is rather tanky with Mercury Treads and Abyssal Mask. It's a little bit like a tank when you're considering the magic damage that Xiaohu has to deal with them. So it's almost impossible to kill him in this split push, even when sending 2 people. But with that being said, RNG is spending more time away from the minion waves trying to get kills. Samsung is spending more time with the minion waves trying to farm to keep this game going. And we're seeing that push and pull to try to keep the game even.
It feels like in general, Samsung, again, defensive play, just trying to stay afloat. Right now, the game, only 2,500 gold or so ahead for RNG. Yes, they have 2 Drakes, so they're building up lead here. But again, with mid not being opened up, the map is still constricted for them. And I think in a minute's time, that Infernal is what RNG have to say, all right, it is time to really break open this game.
And this is where decisions can come into play for both of these teams. RNG, but just by having the mid lane outer turret broken, can look at Baron as a more viable option, especially at 24 minutes. Having 3 items completed on your AD carry, it's going to be doing an awful lot of work to it, right? So yeah, they can consider that. The Infernal Drake's up in 40, yes, but RNG could say, well, Samsung are going to place wards around Infernal Drake. Why do we not just do a Baron for it?
And you can see they're taking control of the Baron side. The trick here for RNG is to be decisive enough to take the Baron if Samsung is going to be going for the Drake, because it takes much longer to kill Baron than it does Infernal Drake.
The game of chicken, however, is currently in effect when you look at Samsung's vision towards the Drake itself. RNG will have no idea.
What a flank here by Xiaohu and MLXG. Actually, a stun lands on the core. JJ ulti, lets it rip, and Uzi gets the kill. Now jumps in on towards Ambition, going to try and clean one up. Uzi grabs the double kill. Going to keep moving forward. Stun lands it. Oh my god, Uzi, triple kill. He's not going to get it all, but he might grab the quadra. Kube gets out of the way, and RNG smash the team fight.
Uzi just comes up huge as well. That's the Baron. RNG, what a machine of a team right now.
That damage, man, he was so far ahead of the item curve with the double zeal and the sensor. When he started killing Ambition, he looked like a piece of paper right there. He killed him so fast, got the resets, caught Samsung completely off guard. They did not expect that kind of damage, and now RNG has control.
Honestly, I don't think anyone expected the amount of damage he did to Ambition. There's an armor item on that Sejuani, but you're right, just absolutely shredded him, and it all starts with this flank jab.
And Ming broke the passive on Ambition at the start of it, but it's all about catching Core JJ at the beginning. They let it rip on him. Now they're not fearful of the counter engage nearly as much, but crit, boom.
Crit.
He's got 70% crit, so I'm going to give him that one. He carries on with the flash taunt from Let Me. Hops all over the place. Yes, it's not quite the ace, but they get everything they wanted out of that one.
Probably actually better that Let Me got one of those kills, because then they don't dive through the turrets for the Panther. Instead, they take the mid turret, which they already got. They grab the Baron, and now they're going to grab the Infernal as well. RNG, we asked for them to break the game open if they wanted a chance, and they have well and truly done that.
And conveniently in the way that we also suspected, being that it would be a Baron as a higher priority. And all of that comes down to being able to break the mid lane outer turret. And once you get that from a pick on Cuvée, you can see as every single step leads into something more significant, everything RNG needed.
But gentlemen, we've also been here before. I like to look at Samsung a little bit as SKT light, in the sense that they're a little bit slower, not quite as perfect as SKT. There was a 10,000 gold lead yesterday, EDG versus SKT against a Rakan with the Janna. And one fight is all it took for the Twitch Rakan to get back.
There they go. Cataclysm against it. Huge knocker there in the ball. Xiaohu takes that roller. Everybody's dead. He gets the double. Uzi leaps in to grab it, and it's only Crown left.
And RNG is not EDG today. This is a Baron buff long death times. I think they win on this push.
They might be able to do it here, Jack. That's going to be an inhibitor. Just Crown left.
Crown, do not stand there and taunt RNG. They're going for the game. Let Me is going to tank the front. Next to taunt on the left is the stun lands on the Crown assist. Forced to flash away. Uzi leaps on. They want it. They want it all. Going to try and grab the ace. Uzi can't quite get him in the fountain, but the Nexus turret is dead. And RNG send a message. Take down Samsung.
is our third shutout in a row here at Worlds. When these teams start winning, they do not let up. And this one was Uzi getting so damn far ahead, and the rest of the team not being afraid to just go. That's what we talk about RNG. They do not give a damn about who they're playing against. They do not care if the game can turn around against them. They'll go for it. They did, and they won.
And we saw a very methodical early game as well to set all of that up. We said it had to be around mid lane and jungle. Well, it ultimately was just around the jungle position, with MLXG trying to find ambition. Bot lane was always going to be winning. They picked winning lanes, and that felt like that was all they needed.
They trust in themselves, but today they needed to also trust in each other, and they are rewarded as they stand in front of the crowd with a blisteringly fast game. That one ended in under 30 minutes after a very slow early game. Again, these are not super fast teams. Samsung especially do play it slow, but RNG, they knew they were ahead, and as soon as Uzi crit Sejuani for that first time, RNG were like, we got it.
I guarantee you, EDG are backstage right now, just writing down notes for that last game today. This is how we mid-game.
More when you are ahead.
Big Tristana. It's all working, coming together for them in this one.
I mean, we talked about Uzi getting ahead, having his CS lead, doing his thing, but that was an insane conversion by all 5 from RNG. Yes, Big Tristana did a lot of work, but the rest of the team was there as well.
Yeah, and let's keep this game in the greater context, right? Samsung didn't actually do much that entire game. We talk about Ambition playing defense, and we praise them when it works. It definitely did not work this game, as it could not block the engages whatsoever.
Well, certainly not, as RNG came out on top against Samsung, but let's leave it to the analyst desk to break down that game.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Perhaps the loudest I've heard this venue be as of yet, as RNG take down Samsung Galaxy, and the three of you can hang your heads in shame collectively
that's the appeal
for your
Hey,
predictions. All right, explain yourselves. What happened?
Okay, Samsung, as Jet said, didn't do anything, but they actually did do one thing. A lot of uncharacteristic mistakes. QV, chain feeding, bot lane, Core JJ getting caught out multiple times, and then Crown as well. Had it not been for the round warp, he would have been caught a lot of times too. They just were all over the place.
Yeah, so RNG obviously with the draft you see on the screen now had really, really strong lanes. Down in the bottom lane, the Tristana Janna will definitely beat out the Twitch, as we saw during the entire game. Pressure in the mid lane from Syndra, and of course Galio pushing Maokai in top. So MLXG was allowed to kind of do whatever he wanted. It wasn't actually a whole lot he did. He just tried to invade over and over and didn't really pull off ganks. But it was enough to get early towers, and then a really good lane swap from, of course, RNG. When they got BF Sword, they swapped to top lane, kill QA under that tower, take the first tower, and that's kind of how they got the big goal lead.
Yeah, and then it was that Rift Herald with that beautiful 2-tower push onto the bottom, which was a great play from RNG. I do want to give credit to Coach Firefox behind them. That was the first time that we've ever seen Let Me flex the Galio up into the top lane. Normally, that goes into the Xiaohu hands. He was the first guy to ever play Galio in the mid lane position. LPL was the first region to ever have Galio competitively, so we are very comfortable playing it there. And then to just change that up to make sure that they had damage on that Syndra, because if that was Galio mid with a tank top laner, that comp was going nowhere.
Deficio, then Crumbs.
Yeah. Samsung, after everything went wrong, actually did an okay job defending. It was actually looking okay for them. They were like stalling.
Wait, what?
Wait for it, wait for it. Yeah, I'm setting up for the replay, Crumbs. This is what we do, you know? Building up the narrative. They were defending okay. They got Infinity Edge completed on Twitch. They took notes from yesterday's game with SKT. We're waiting for that Infinity Edge on Bank's Twitch. They're like, okay, now we can maybe start fighting. And then, Dash.
And then it happens. Let's cut to it. Our 24-minute replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
And then suddenly RNG are behind Samsung. Check out on your minimap. Where's Rise? He's not there.
What is it doing? What is this? SKT did not just randomly run two members in mid.
Look at this stun that he's going to hit. A two-man stun. The picks that he got on Core JJ multiple times. He was such a great player for RNG in this game, and enabled Uzi to get all those resets.
And again, this is so uncharacteristic for Samsung. Every single one of us said it in our predictions. Samsung's ability to 5v5 is what they've always been renowned for and praised for, and that was just completely sloppy.
But you know what this reminds me of? Rift Rivals, LCK versus LPL. Yesterday we saw SKT versus EDG. We saw in Rift Rivals, are they disrespecting LPL? Are they not taking them seriously? Wiped the floor with them once again. Is the draft perhaps Samsung disrespecting them? Maybe. They picked all losing lanes and just got rocked by RNG.
I mean, again, that 24-minute fight wasn't even a team fight. It was two members getting caught in mid lane where they shouldn't have even been in the first place. And then Uzi obviously jumps in, gets all the kills. And as I predicted before the game, Uzi is the better late game team fighting AD carry, and we saw that in this game.
So now
that's what I said, right? I didn't stop around it.
So now let me ask you this, right? We look at Korea as the #1 region in the world, typically favorites coming into international tournaments. And when we particularly look at this meta, we point at a lot of these Korean teams as favoring them, looking at them as favorites. What do the rest of the teams in this tournament learn from what RNG just did in terms of dismantling Korean teams in the future?
Play your style. That's what teams need to do. Stop copying Korea. Stop trying to be their mimics. Just play what you're good at.
And fast. Pick winning lanes and hammer it home as quickly as you can.
And do not be afraid. If you actually see them overextended out of position, well, punish them.
They don't know what they're doing. Just kill them.
Just get in there,
They're human too.
Don't always think they're doing the perfect move and you should just stay back. No, engage.
All right, well, Frostgren, has your faith been restored in the LPL region and their chances here in the group stages in Worlds?
This is the thing. The LPL, we've always had strong players. We just need strong teams. Keep doing this. Play aggressive. Be the Warriors I know you can be.
A huge win for the LPL squad. For more on that game, let's go ahead and check in with Shox and RNG's AD carry.
Thank you very much. We are here with Uzi after a spectacular victory of RNG over Samsung. And well, I gotta say, I haven't many times heard a crowd be so incredibly loud, Uzi. What does it mean to see all of them cheering for RNG and winning so strongly here in front of your home crowd in China?
所以恭喜你们获得了胜利，然后想问一下说，很少我们会听到说粉丝能够这么的就是为一个主场来欢呼。那对你来讲的话，这场胜利意味着什么？然后你感觉怎么样呢？
我现在心情真的非常非常开心，因为可以说这是史上以来唯一一次就是零封韩国队吧，就是真的让我非常非常开心。
So right now I am really, really excited. I'm really happy right now because this is one of the few times that we are able to get a win against a Korean team with them having 0 kills. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, it was absolutely very spectacular. And Uzi, you're a legend coming back to the World Championship. Of course, you have a very big history with almost winning the trophy. Now with this sign of winning so strongly against a Korean team, what is in the cards for you this year? What do you hope to achieve?
所以呢，你这次的表现非常的好，而且你又是一个传奇式的人物，又回到了全球总决赛的舞台上。然后刚刚跟三星的对决当中的话，你又表现得如此的好。那今年的话，你觉得对你来讲，你能走多远呢？在全球总决赛上？
我也不知道，但是就是我希望我们队伍能一直保持这样的状态下去，然后再继续进步。我相信我们可以走得更远。
I'm not sure what's actually like in the end goal for us right now, but I really want our team to continue how we're playing right now. And if we can keep playing really well, we want to make it further down in Worlds.
All right, maybe one final question. It is a very AD-centric meta right now. Arden Sensor is there, and you are, of course, a fantastic laner and a fantastic AD carry overall. Do you think that's going to help your team, the fact that you'll be able to step up at that big carry?
所以这个版本的话呢，其实是一个很偏 AD 的版本，而且如果有辅助或者任何一个队伍上的人出香炉的话呢，其实也能够帮 AD 增强很多嘛。那你觉得这个版本对于你来讲的话，是不是能够带你们队伍走向胜利呢？
我觉得这个版本是非常适合我的，因为确实 AD 比以往的时候强的真的非常多，然后现在大家也都有针对 AD， 所以说这个版本 AD 真的是非常的重要。
So I really like this meta right now because I think this meta is really for me. It's exclusively for me. And with AD being so strong, definitely it's going to be a very fun.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you very much, Uzi. Congratulations. What a fantastic victory. We will be right back with more action as SKT goes up against AHQ, and we have a special look into the legend figure himself. Don't go anywhere.